Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Krsna Patnya Sanarada Yogeshwareshwarasyanga Yogamaya Vivitsaya. Now it is very anxious to see the Lord's opulence. We see in this material world also people, they like to see great opulence. I don't know in this country. In this country also mostly Westerners I think, visit that island palace off Udaipur. There's one island palace. They visit the Taj Mahal and they like to see these opulent buildings. And in the Western countries they'll visit the Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle. Have you heard of all these things? So many tourists go. England's not the ruler of the world anymore, but they still have all these old monuments that they still get enough money to eat their bread and butter, because people come from all over the world to see their Windsor Castle. And people go to America in America they see the Statue of Liberty and the World Trade Center. Oh, whoops, it's not there anymore. Now I have to see the Empire State Building. They can go and look. So people like to see something opulent. How wonderful it is. And they'll look and see that, you see they even have gold taps in the bathroom. And they're thinking, you see, if I have a gold ring on my finger, I'm looking so. How nice my gold ring. But in their bathroom, which they're using, it means they're passing stool, which is, they have gold on the taps, and so it means they're so opulent, highly opulent. So Narad Muni has also come to see the opulence of Krishna, and Krishna's Dwaraka fort is far more opulent than Windsor Castle or Taj Mahal or any of these things put together. That's described. Everything is made with pearls and jewels and gems, silk canopies and beautiful bedsteads and all these things. So that's nice. But actually Narad Muni wasn't so much interested in seeing this opulence, but rather the opulence of the Lord manifested in His wonderful potency. How He is simultaneously performing different pastimes in different palaces with different queens and with different devotees. Here in this palace we see that Uddhava is present with Krishna. He was playing dice with his wife and with Uddhava, who's his cousin and very intimate family friend. So there are 16,108 palaces. But Uddhava is not only present in one palace, but you'll find him in many palaces. So just as Krishna expands, you see, if he's going to, it's not that he'll just keep Devaki. It's not only that he has one queen in each palace, but Devaki and Vasudeva, they're also in each palace. Because how can he live without his parents? In each form. And they're all performing different pastimes. So this is the opulence of the Supreme Lord. He does things which are impossible materially. Etad ishanam ishasya prakriti sto pitad gunai na yujjate sadatmastai yata bhaktis sadashaha. That's stated near the beginning of Bhagavatam, that the opulence of what is the symptom of Him being God? That He performs activities which are not possible within the modes of nature. Everything in this material world is controlled by Devi, Mataji. Everything is controlled by her. The poor scientists, they're taking so much trouble to study this material world and how it works. But they don't know that this material world is just an outpost, or more like an outhouse. Do you know what outhouse means? It means the toilet outside, at a long distance. Nowadays people think it's very sophisticated to pass stool next to the kitchen. But actually you should have an outhouse at a long distance. So this material world, it is like an outhouse, and they're spending all their energy to study how the toilet is going on, and how the interactions of subatomic particles and different energies. But for all their study, they don't know that there's a spiritual world beyond this material world where these laws don't apply anyway. The laws of physics and all these different things, they don't apply in the spiritual world. There's what energy is working on, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. Everything is simply working for the pleasure of Krishna. So, whatever rules you might expect in the material world, they don't apply there. And even when Krishna comes to this material world, then he brings the opulence of the spiritual world with him. Just like it's said that Krishna, he is regularly going from Nandagram to Govardhan. So it's a long distance. And how it's said that he'll go there, then he'll come back for lunch sometimes. Then how is that? Because not that Krishna is doing jogging. He's doing a running race. He's very happily going at his own speed, going along, playing with the cowherd boys as he goes along. But the spiritual energy means that the lotus, which is Vrajadham, can contract. Similarly, we find in Dwaraka, there's so much population there that it's more than that of the present world, and it's a fort off the coast of what is now known as Gurja. We find that even if you find that King Nagnajiti, he gave to his daughter Satya dowry to Krishna when Krishna married her. Now you'll find that it said that he gave so many elephants, and then 100 times more this, and 100 times more that, and 100. So when it comes to the number of servants he gave Krishna, that alone is more than the population of the present earth. And they were all in Dwaraka. So you might think it's quite crowded. But they can all fit without any problem. How? By the spiritual energy. The spiritual energy can expand different distances and can contract. So that there may be staying in all these servants that stay in the palace only of Satya, one of the principal queens of Krishna. And then Narad Muni is walking from one palace to another. You may think, well, how it's going to be a long walk, because that palace must be to fit. I mean, it must be at least the size of Tamil Nadu. So it may have been, or it may have been contracted also, but not contracted with. It means by the spiritual energy which can accommodate everything. That's stated in the Brahma Samhita. That the all-accommodating spiritual potency. That means that physically it can accommodate everything, because anyway it doesn't work according to the laws of physics as we know it. And it can accommodate all unheard of activities and all wonderful things. Everything is possible in the spiritual existence. That's why Prabhupada, sometimes devotees used to ask, what's it like in the spiritual world? And ask Prabhupada to ask so many questions. Prabhupada said, you just go there, then you'll see. Because we can't understand everything about this. That's why materialistic people, they will reject. How is it a little boy is holding a hill 7 days on the end of his finger? It's not possible. Even the greatest weightlifting champions in the world, they can't even lift up one big rock. What to speak of a whole hill full of rocks. So we don't believe it. But then at all, if we're going to accept God, then we have to accept, as Jiva Goswami says, the first position of theism is to accept that God has achintya shakti, inconceivable potencies. If we think He's just someone like me, then He's like me but a little greater. God is great. I'm great. I'm great. So if God's great, well, He's maybe a little bit greater. Frog in the well philosophy. That I can pick up this much weight, so maybe God can pick up a little bit more. He'll get the gold medal in the Olympic Games for weightlifting. But they have no idea how great He is. Yakarnana vajale bhajati svayoga nidramananta jagaranda soromakupaha adhara shakti mavalamba parang sramurti govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. God is so great that with His breathing, the universes come out of the pores of His body. There's a hole. There's so many holes in our body. Generally we think there are, how many holes? 7 holes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Nabi? Is that the 8th one? Anyway. But there are so many holes. Tiny little holes. Loma coop. That means the hair on our body is called loma, and coop means it's like a well or it's a hole. There's so many, but you can't see it. But there must be, otherwise how is the perspiration coming out of them? So there are holes all over the body. They're very, very tiny. But Mahavishnu's body is so great in size that whole universes come out of them. And He has the Adhara Shakti. He holds everything within Him. So you may think, oh, that's very great. We can't imagine. But even greater than Mahavishnu is Krishna, who's non-different. Mahavishnu is non-different. But Krishna is so great, He doesn't even bother with all this creating, maintaining, destroying. He's too busy stealing butter from the gopis. He's got more important things to do. Hey Mahavishnu, can you look after the material world there? I'm going to go and steal some butter. There's some nice butter being made there, and they're going to keep it very secretly because they know I like to steal it. But I'm going to steal it anyway. They can't protect it from me. He's got more important things to do. So this is the opulence of the spiritual world that Narad came to see. How Krishna is enjoying His pastimes with all His devotees. Nayujyate sadatmastaya yatha bhaktistadashraya. That those who are sheltered at the lotus feet of Krishna, they share in Krishna's opulence. Because what is opulence? What is the use unless we can share it with others? That was Arjuna's complaint to Krishna. Kimna rajena govinda, kimna bhogai. That what is the use of us winning the kingdom if those who we would want to enjoy it with, they're all dead? We can only win this kingdom by killing our relatives. But unless you have relatives, then what is the use of having a kingdom? Then you want to enjoy it with others. Unless you share your wealth, there's no pleasure to having it. Of course, there may be misers, like that was very famous, the Nizam of Hyderabad. He was extraordinarily wealthy. He had rooms full of jewels, but he was such a miser. He didn't like to spend anything. He was a completely miserable person. So, wealth, one can take pleasure in wealth if he shares it in front of all his friends. If someone comes and says, I'm very poor. Okay, take $1,000. All right. He likes to show, you see. Take it. He likes to show how wealthy he is. Unless you can, or invite your friends. Prabhupada used to say among the aristocrats in Bengal, that means the zamindar class, they used to arrange a big feast and then invite their friends. Come. Big feast, so many preparations. They would invite their friends. They were also a zamindar class. And then they'd eat a little, just a tiny little bit, and say, "Oh yeah, it's very nice. Thank you." And then the servants would eat everything. But they just like to show, you see, opulence. You see, we've cooked so many things. Oh, very nice, okay. Because anyway, they themselves are eating, they have facility to eat all nice things. They're all, so, alright, very nice. You've done it, we've seen. People like to show off. So, the devotees of Krishna, they share in Krishna's opulence. And Prabhupada explained that actually the servants, they enjoy more, just like in that example. That the actual rich people, they're making so many arrangements. But the servants, they actually enjoy more, because you'll see if you're going for book distribution, sometimes you go to the house of big people. Well, the servants don't usually let you in. But you see, actually they have to live their lives according to the dictates of others. People, they call them to different meetings, and they have to live in such a way that people expect them to live. But the servants, they're very relaxed. They just have a little work, because rich people, they have to keep many, many servants, more than they need. Just to show off, you see. I've got 120 servants. But what's that one's job? Well, he puts my shoes on when I go out the door. That's his job. He gets paid 10,000 rupees a month. Every time he shines my shoes, and every time I go out, he puts them on. And when I come back, he takes them off and puts them on the rack. And that's his job. I have 120 servants, so you see, what shall I do with them all? And this one's job, his job is to clean the doorknobs. You see, that's his job. He shines the brass door or the gold doorknobs. Gold doesn't need shining, so every day he just dusts them. 500 doorknobs in our home, so that's his job. So the servants, they're actually, especially when the rich people go away, we come and visit their home and they're all lying on the couch, watching the TV, eating grapes. They're enjoying themselves. They have no anxiety. The people who are the bosses, the actual owners, they have to think how to maintain, how to pay all the different taxes and run their business. But the servants, they just do a little work and they're enjoying. So actually Krishna, he's not like a material boss. He doesn't have such anxiety. But the servants, they partake in his pleasure. So Krishna expands himself in so many forms because he has so many devotees. So he doesn't want to be very distant from all of them. So he expands himself in many forms so that they can all enjoy. So they can all enjoy. But then he has to have his best friends with him. So in every palace there'll be Devaki, Vasudeva, Ugrasena, Uddhava, all the principal relatives, not of that particular family, will be present with him. So these are some of the opulences that Narad was seeing. Of course, Narad knew this. He knows everything about Krishna. Just like that's described in Bhagavatam. On the day when Krishna had killed Vyomasura, then Narad came to Krishna. He killed the Vyomasura in the morning, and Narad came to Krishna in the afternoon and was narrating his pastimes to him. It's that in the future I will see how you will go, Akrura will take you to Mathura, and you will kill the washerman and the elephant Kuvalayapira, and you will kill Kamsa, and you will erect the Dwarka fort, and you will kidnap Rukmini and marry her. He was narrating all, I will see all this in future. So he knew what Krishna's pastimes are. But still, he's astonished to see it. Because that is the nature of Krishna's pastimes. They're unlimitedly wonderful. And even though a devotee has tremendous appreciation of Krishna's pastimes, but still he feels that I'm only appreciating it to a tiny extent because Krishna's pastimes are unlimited. And as a limited jiva, how much can we appreciate? That Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami described that I'm writing this Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm simply describing the main sequence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. But actually, that every moment that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in this world for 48 years, and every moment of his pastimes, even Ananta Shesh, who has got 1,000 hoods, even one moment he cannot properly describe, because at every moment he performed such wonderful pastimes. That means that every moment he's doing something and he's with his devotees and the devotees are relishing, and he's also relishing what are Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's thoughts, how he's appreciating within his mind the unlimited pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And different devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are appreciating at different levels according to their own realization and according to their bhakti. But actually the internal relishing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing, actually only Swarup Damodar Goswami could understand that, who was just so close to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's just like the other, he's like another form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His mind was completely one with that of Lord Chaitanya. So Swarup Damodar Goswami, he understood the internal feelings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he didn't reveal it to anyone. Simply he wrote in his diary. And then later, on the basis of that, Chaitanya Charitamrita was written. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, quotes different verses from Swarup Damodar Goswami's Karcha, his diary, about the internal reasons for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearing in this world. So Swarup Damodar Goswami knew, but he didn't tell, he didn't publicize it. But Rupa Goswami, he also knew, and he wrote extensively on this subject matter. So that can now be relished by the devotees. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, they're unlimited. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, writes that I am just like a chatak, a little bird, standing at the edge of a huge ocean, an unlimited ocean of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, and I'm taking a few drops, and this is Chaitanya Charitamrita, which that stated that even one drop of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, it's enough to drown the entire world in ecstasy. And we can see Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's describing these are only a few drops from the unlimited ocean of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. And that unlimited ocean is always increasing. So even if you take a drop, that ocean is still increasing. So this is a drop, but that's the point, that a drop of that ocean is the same in quality with the total quantity of the ocean. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, they are unlimited. But by studying Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can enter into the quality of those unlimited pastimes. All the ecstasy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is encapsulated in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, I'm only just like a little bird taking drops, but there's a vast ocean. And I can just catch a little, but even that's enough to drown the whole world. So in the same way, Narad Muni is going to the different palaces of Krishna, and he's seen this before. He knows that there are different palaces, there are different pastimes going on, but still he's astonished. Still he's enthralled to see Krishna's wonderful pastimes. Now you may say, well, Krishna's playing dice. Well, I can do that too. Krishna's arranging for his daughters to get married. Well, ordinary people do that too. Krishna's consulting with his ministers, headed by Uddhava, over political strategy. Well, that goes on in this material world also. So we may think then, what is the difference between Krishna's activities and those of an ordinary person? Well, that one difference is there, that Krishna, he's doing this in 16,108 forms. That's one difference. But so there's a difference in quantity. But also there's a difference in quality, because everything Krishna does is of the nature of Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. Everything is of the nature of spiritual bliss. We can read the newspaper, we read, someone has stolen some money. Thieves, dacoits stopped a bus and robbed everyone on the bus. And we read it. Not very interesting. Imagine if you had to read it all the time. The same newspaper article. Here's a newspaper article, 10 lines, from the Times of India, or the Hindu, Madras edition. 22nd of December 2001. And you have to read that every day for the rest of your life. So on the 22nd of December 2020, you already know it by heart. A gang of dacoits stopped a bus on the Mandalam to Pundi Road last night at about 11:30 and robbed the passengers of their valuables and belongings. A case has been registered and the Mandalam police are looking into it. It's boring even the first time you read it. Not to speak of if you have to read it every day of your life. But if we hear Krishna is robbing butter, which is not, butter, it's not as expensive as the gold chains they may be stealing. We like to hear it. Why is that? We hear it again and again. Krishna is dancing with the gopis. No? So many people dance. So what? But we like to hear again and again, because it's of a different nature. This material world is simply the perverted reflection of the spiritual world, in which everything here is asat, achit, nirananda, from the very beginning. Adyanta, what is that? Yitu samspashada bhoga dukkha yone evate. Adam, what is that? Adanta. Adyanta. What is it? I'm forgetting. Adyantav. Adyantav. Then there's one more word. Antavanta. Konti. Amateshu amate buddha. That the only pleasure in this material world is that from seeing, touching, smelling, hearing, tasting. But from the beginning, even, it is a cause of misery. Therefore, an intelligent person doesn't take part in it. Why do we like to touch, taste, smell, feel, all these things? There's some sensual pleasure. Sensual pleasure. But above and beyond that is rasa, which in this material world also there's rasa. A man likes to pat his children on the head, and the child also enjoys that. There's an exchange of rasa. He's thinking, oh my son, and the son is thinking, oh my father. But that exchange of pleasure in the material world, that is limited, and ultimately it is the cause of distress in various ways. Either because the son, well, it may be in various ways. The son may be a cause of distress for the father, or to maintain the son, he has to accept so many distressful conditions, do some nasty job, whatever. There's so much anxiety to maintain him. And then ultimately there is death, which is a cause of pain. But in spiritual existence, the rasa, the exchange or the mellow, the feeling, it's actually very difficult to explain rasa in English. There's no such word. Juice is one word. But when we say feeling, that's actually bhav. So bhav and rasa, they're not exactly the same thing. Ras, we can say that is the pleasure or the essence of bhav. So bhav is inherent in rasa and rasa is inherent in bhav. There's a whole science which has been studied on the material platform by Bharat Muni in his Natya Shastra. But the actual rasa is that of the spiritual world that is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What are the exchanges between Krishna and his devotees? So because that is on the spiritual platform, it is Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. That is actual pleasure. It's Chinmaya, that's on the platform of realized consciousness. And when there is Ananda and Chit, there must be also Sat, which means it is eternal. In this material world, there's no actual rasa. Because that which is actual rasa, that means it's undying. We say undying love, but that's actually only in spiritual existence. Because there must be death in this material world. Jatasya hi dhruvam janma, hi dhruvam mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. In this material world, death is certain for those who are born, and rebirth is certain for those who have died. So this is the position of the material world. Therefore there cannot be eternal love or undying love. But in spiritual existence, love is not only undying, but it's always increasing. And there's no time limit. It's increasing, 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 and you may think that mundane poets write poems that my love for you is increasing every day. Well, even if it does, which doesn't happen in the material world, there's some phantasmagoria when someone falls in love, but after some time they wake up and think, oh, actually it's not so wonderful. But in spiritual existence, the loving feelings simply go on increasing, 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 and there is no bar to that. There is no obstruction. We see that sometimes Krishna behaves apparently very badly with his devotees. It's very difficult to understand. Why should Krishna leave the rasa dance when all the gopis had come to him? This is the culmination of all their loving desires. And Krishna called them with his flute. And they came. Of course, he didn't directly call, come here. But they understood the message of the flute. Now Krishna is calling us. And then they came and he said, oh, what are you doing here? It's not good for young girls to be in the forest at night. away from your home, you should go home. And they said, no. But you only called us. So then they were enjoying. So first he disappointed them, then he danced with them, then again he went away. So why should he do that? Why should he apparently leave Vrindavan? Now, these things are very difficult to understand. But one thing we can understand is that by doing this, Krishna showed how the love of his devotees for him is not dependent on any condition, even on the condition of his being present. There's a saying in English that absence makes the heart grow fonder. In other words, if you love someone and then you're separated from them and then you're feeling for them more. But in material life, if you may have a good friend and then you're away from him, still you feel very strongly. But then if it goes on 10 years, 20 years, you never see them, never have any contact with them, then you may meet again, but it won't be the same. Maybe if you again spend time together, that friendship will again be rekindled. But because there's not proximity, there's no exchange. Therefore, the feelings are diminished. But Krishna, by going away from Vrindavan, he showed that even if in his absence, and one thing we have to remember is yugayitam nimeshena. For the residents of Vrindavan, one nimesh means the time it takes to blink. How much time does it take to blink? Less than a second. So one nimesh is for them like 12 years in the absence of Krishna. So actually Krishna, when he left, they were feeling like tremendous long period of time. They would criticize Brahma. What is that useless fellow sitting on top of the Padma at the top of the universe? A completely useless, bogus person. He's creating this world, creating our bodies. He's given us eyes with which we can see Krishna. But why is he making them blink? Because during the time of blinking we can't see Krishna. He doesn't know how to do his job properly. This useless fellow called Brahma. They were criticizing that if for one blinking period we cannot see Krishna, then it is a very great disaster. That much feeling they had for Krishna. And Krishna is going away. Then how many blinking periods? There's no blinking because their eyes are full of tears. Yugayitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrishayitam. Their eyes, it's not just 1 or 2 drops, but just like tremendous rain is coming from their eyes. And actually that was there with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That when he was dancing at Rath Yatra, then tears would come from his eyes like from a jalayantra, from a syringe, not exactly a syringe, this big thing they have for squirting water. They'd use for the Holi festival, for squirting water. Tears were coming out in great force. His eyes, it was like so much water. People were getting soaked wet from the rain coming from his eyes. So you can't blink when there's so much water coming from your eyes. So there was so much suffering. So you would think that, well, after some time they could be alright. Now, somehow you adjust. Just like someone's father dies and then, they're very sorry. But after some time you adjust and you go on with life. what to do. You can't lament forever. But for the Vrajvasis, they were simply lamenting, and their lamenting was increasing more and more. And they couldn't forget Krishna. Krishna showed Uddhav, who's mentioned in this verse. Uddhav, he sent Uddhava to Vrindavan. Because Uddhava was such a great devotee in Dwarka, he was known as the greatest devotee. Uddhava was, he had a reputation as being a crazy fellow in Dwarka. Because sometimes he would go, you see outside Dwarka, if you go to the coast of Gujarat, you'll find there are different hills. Inland a little bit. So Uddhava would sometimes go to the top of the hills, and during the monsoon season, he would be talking to the clouds, thinking that this is Krishna, because he saw the same color. So he thought, this is Krishna. So he had a reputation as a crazy fellow, because sane people don't talk to clouds. So he had a reputation as a crazy fellow, because he was talking to clouds. But that was his love of Krishna. That was the manifestation of his love of Krishna. So in Dwarka he was known as the greatest devotee of Krishna. He had that good reputation. So he was thinking like that yes, well, I'm a devotee, and among the Yadu dynasty, he is known as great devotee. So Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan. You take this message to the gopis. And then Uddhava saw what is the love of the inhabitants of Vrindavan for Krishna. First of all, he went to see Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. And they were both more crazy than him in love of Krishna. Yashoda was, even though Krishna had been away for so much time, she was still lamenting as if her son had just died. Like she was going on lamenting and chastising Nanda Maharaj. But why did you allow Krishna to go away? Why were you fooled by that Akrura? Why did you believe him? You spoiled everything. Now all the inhabitants of Vrindavan are simply lamenting. And Nanda Maharaj would chastise, why are you chastising me, you crazy woman? Don't you see? Krishna is here. Because Nanda Maharaj was seeing Krishna. Don't you see? He's still taking the cows out. Nanda Maharaj, his madness of separation from Krishna manifested in a different way. That he saw, he was so much used every day that Krishna would take out the cows every day. So after Krishna left, Nanda Maharaj saw that anyway, because he couldn't imagine that Krishna wouldn't be taking the cows out. For him it was impossible. No one could imagine. So mostly they saw Shanyayatam Jagat Sarvam. Mostly the Vrajavasis saw that the whole world is empty. Why is it empty? There's Vrindavan is there, Govardhan is there, Yamuna is there, the forests are there, the cows are there, everything is there. But Krishna isn't there. So everything is empty and everything is useless. Because everything in Vrindavan is simply meant for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna is the center. Without Krishna, what is the meaning? It's all completely meaningless and empty. But Nanda Maharaj, he saw it differently. He didn't see that Krishna, he kept on seeing Krishna. So Uddhava saw this, and then he saw the gopis, and especially Radharani, talking in various manners of a completely, apparently insane person in her separation from Krishna. And then Uddhava could understand that I was thinking I'm a very great devotee, but Krishna has kindly sent me to Vrindavan on the pretext of delivering this message to the gopis, to the inhabitants of Vrindavan. But actually, I can understand that he sent me here to learn what is bhakti. I thought I knew what is bhakti. But now I can understand that actually I don't know anything. I have to learn everything. So actually he was thinking that I can learn about bhakti from the residents of Vrindavan, but I'm in a very difficult situation because I've been sent here as a guru to give them a message. To give the message that Krishna had given, and I have to explain that to the gopis, that you see, Krishna is always present everywhere, and even if you think he's absent, he'll be coming soon. I have to explain all this philosophy. So he came as a guru, and even from the external point of view, or the social point of view, he's an exalted member of the Yadu dynasty, Kshatriya, nobleman, and the gopis are just village women, so they must respect him. So how can Uddhava take instruction from the gopis and from the Brajvasis, who are all Vaishyas, and he's a Kshatriya, a highly aristocratic person. He's come as their guru, as a respectable person to them. But he's thinking, actually, I have to learn everything from them. So, he was thinking, he was praying that if in my next birth, I can take birth as some of the leaves or the grass in Vrindavan, then sometimes the gopis, they will be walking here and there, and by that method I will get the dust of their feet upon my head. So Narad Muni, he was going to the palace of Krishna in Dwarka and seeing the opulence of Krishna, but he wasn't just looking at that's a very nice bed you've got, very nice jewels, but he was seeing how Krishna is sharing and enjoying his pastimes with his devotees. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Is there any question? So, reading from the Nectar of Book Distribution. Preaching while distributing. Rohini Sutta Das. These books are all powerful, none different from Krishna. We should have full confidence in their power. Srila Prabhupada's books can change the world and the consciousness of people. What we say, our preaching, should inspire people to take and read the books. That is our duty. What's the use of preaching for a long time if in the end they say, thank you, that was interesting, but I don't want the books, maybe another time. I want to meditate on what you said. I like speaking more than reading. I like personal contact. Books I don't like. They say this many times. A devotee should never make this compromise of just speaking. Our goal is to make them take the books and associate with Srila Prabhupada directly. That makes the change. If they don't take the book, they're not serious and they will forget everything. They've cheated you and wasted your time. Many people are good at asking a lot of questions and appearing interested, but they simply don't dare to say no right away. When you realize this at the end, you become frustrated because you are thinking you had met an interested person. Therefore, our approach in the beginning is always short and direct. Present the books in a nice way. Then you will immediately understand how interested they really are. When they have bought the book and given a donation, then you can preach a little more and explain how to read the books. Now they are purified, and maybe they will become so inspired that they take even more. And when they get home, they feel they had a nice experience meeting you. They never forget that impression, even if many years pass. The devotees are inspired because of the power of Lord Chaitanya and the mission and blessings of the spiritual master. Because of this enthusiasm, people become inspired and enlivened. But as soon as you go away, they forget everything. Maya offers them sense gratification, and they forget whatever you told them. But if they have the books as a souvenir, they always remember the situation and their encounter with a devotee, then one day Krishna from within their heart gives them inspiration to read the books. Hare Krishna. So